Raider Nation, thank you for joining us on the Only Nation podcast, brought to you by the Raider Ramble. My name is Heidi, but you may know me as Kevlar Prom Dress or even Raider Ladybug. I'm here with Raider Homer and T3 Raider Facts, and we're ready to talk some Raiders football together.
Always ready to talk Raider football, especially with great Raider guests.
Hey, it may be the off season, but talking Raider football is always in season, so let's go.
Today on the show, we will briefly review some of the latest Raiders news, which isn't much since we're in the off-season. Then we will welcome in our special guest, Peggy Holmes, to talk some Raider football, both past and present. And if you've noticed anything different about this episode, we are releasing on a Monday. Yes, during the off-season this year, we will be releasing on Mondays instead of Thursdays, so check us out.
And Raider Nation, we would love to hear from you. So make sure you get in touch with us. Give us a call at the Only Nation Podcast voicemail line at 904-701-8667. That's 904-701-8667.
Here's the latest Raider news.
The Raiders have signed another quarterback to the roster. Now, before you get excited, his name is Kyle Slaughter, and he was added as a reserve future player last week. Slaughter played in Northern Colorado and was signed as an undrafted free agent by the Denver Broncos following the 2017 draft. He has had short stints with Denver, Minnesota, Arizona, Detroit, and most recently with the Chicago Bears.
I'm not too worried about it. We got two good quarterbacks in Carr and Mariota. And we're going to trade a third for Sam Darnold. So this guy, he's just there for now.
You're going to see lots of moving and shaking over the offseason. So this is just one of many.
Yeah, just a little bit of depth, a little bit of movement, no big deal. According to a report last week by Sports Illustrated's Hondo Carpenter, the Raiders are putting together a potential offer to re-sign wide receiver and one of Derek Carr's go-to guys last year, Nelson Agholor. Although no deal had been worked out as of yet, the figures seem to fall around $15 million for 2 years to bring back Agholor. Personally, I don't think those are the numbers they're really working with.
I think he's probably going to garner more of a salary than that. I'm hoping that these reports are true, but I'm thinking he's probably going to get more money elsewhere. So I'm just hoping that this report is close to accurate.
Yeah, I would love to see him come back, so I hope this is accurate. But he could always ask for more. He played well. But again, like we talked about in previous episodes, I hope that he just realizes that we gave him a shot. He doesn't have to give us a team discount, but come back and help us win because we need him.
Oh, definitely. Want him back for sure. I just don't think that these numbers are realistic. I think it would be nudged up a little bit higher.
But hopefully not a crazy amount of money.
Yeah, hopefully not crazy.
He's going to negotiate, but hopefully he just doesn't get greedy.
Yep. All right, there's still been no discussion about moving either up or down in the draft, but in Daniel Jeremiah's latest mock draft, the Raiders could potentially be slated to grab Notre Dame linebacker Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, who is widely regarded as a top 3 linebacker in this year's draft class.
Well, if he's good, he's good, but I don't want to have to say his name during this show. But I hope that we just grab at the 17th spot. Don't make any moves unless we get more first-round picks, and that's not likely. Take the best defender on the field, whether, as far as a defensive tackle, free safety, or a linebacker. Take one of those guys. And like I said, I want to see us build our defense through the draft because his free agents just haven't worked out. But I like the idea of taking the best defender in the draft, first round.
We'll see what happens in free agency, but what I would like to do in free agency is focus on bringing in either a key piece on either the defensive line or linebacker, one or the other. I think that this defense really needs to add 2 or 3 key pieces this year. I think we still have some young talent, but we need to bring in 2 or 3 key pieces this year and do that every year.
And now we would like to present our special guest, Peggy Holmes. Although Peggy lives in Washington, D.C. area, she is a longtime fan. Lifelong, if I recall correctly, and has been instrumental in the development and connection of Raider booster clubs throughout the country. I love listening to her. I could listen to her for hours. Unfortunately, it won't be that long today. Welcome to the Only Nation podcast, Peggy.
Great. It's great to be here and with three of my favorite people. So let's get this rolling.
Well, Peggy, thanks so much for coming on. And now you've been very involved with the growth and development of booster clubs all across the country. Can you speak to the importance of the booster clubs and what impact they have on the Raiders organization as well as the fan base?
Well, it's important to understand that we have a before Al and after Al mode with the booster clubs. The booster clubs were a concept that Al thought would bring the fans closer to the team. He's always been a guy who's wanted to be close to his fans. So the booster clubs were a concept that was founded probably in the late 80s, early 90s. There are official booster clubs that were acknowledged by the Raiders organization. And then you had clubs that kind of just founded on their own, and they tried to get booster club status. But here's what happened after Al passed away. Booster clubs then became back burner to other priorities of the organization. But they've been really instrumental for the fans. We do all the tailgates. We do all the meet and greets and gatherings of the nation. More importantly, the booster clubs are the Raiders representative in the city, community, town, whatever that they are established in. There's charity events. They raise money for local charities. They also do volunteer work in the community with their Raider jerseys on, so that the Raiders are a presence nationwide. That's what the booster clubs really were all about.
Yeah, I was a part of the Silver and Black of Central Texas from 2006 to 2020. Now, I'm the president of the Black Hole, but I love being a part of a booster club or a fan club. To build the relationships and friendships that you can through those booster clubs and fan clubs is tremendous. I have friends that I've known since 2006 that I still, care about, and we see each other, and it's amazing to see that all came from us being Raider fans.
And it's so important that people understand that there's a variety of leagues and groups of Raider clubs, and that we really all should be working together. There should be no divide. Oh, I'm a booster club. Oh, I'm a Raider club. Oh, I'm a Black Hole club. As far as I'm concerned, we're all in this together. That's always the way we've operated. And when we do our tailgates, everybody is invited to collaborate and get together and throw the best event that we can throw.
Absolutely.
One thing that we've talked about numerous times, and whether we've been in Baltimore or Pittsburgh or New Jersey where the Giants were playing, no matter where we gathered, it seemed like once the tailgate came in, all other booster clubs just welcomed in, and it became just one big club. And we had raffles going on. We were supporting numerous charities at once, and people from those areas, whether it be Baltimore or Jersey or Pittsburgh, were just amazed that the Raider fans were coming from all so many distances to come together as one to do so many things.
I've been privileged to be a part of the planning of about 6 or 7 tailgates, and actually have thrown 11 tailgates in my career. That's before I retired last year. And I'm telling you, the love, you guys know what I'm talking about. The love, sharing. You meet people from all over the world you never would have met in your regular life. It's a very humbling experience.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, where I'm at, we have one booster club. I was just thrilled that there was a booster club, period. But it's really cool. They're just like he said, they're still involved in the community. They still work charities. I haven't gotten to see everything in light of COVID, but they're still active, and they're still, representative of everything that you said. Now, they'll probably never host a tailgate in Alaska, but
never mind, Heidi. We got our tickets to Anchorage already booked. Don't start that.
And she's part of that group there, so she may be.
That's
the one
right.
to
We
get
coming
started.
to see Heidi. We're going to have a tailgate for Heidi.
Yeah, Raiders of the Far North.
That's right. And the other thing that people have to understand is that the tailgates give the Raiders an opportunity, the players, a chance to actually see their fans in other cities, which is quite a eye opener for some of these young players that have told me they have been astonished by the amount of Raider love. They go to Cleveland, New York, Atlanta, and suddenly step off the bus and there's these Raider fans there cheering for them. It's a kind of unique experience. I would say unique among all 32 NFL teams.
Absolutely. And looking back on it, the Raiders have been starving for wins over the last 20 plus years. But even as we go, regardless of where we go, fans from other fan bases look at us and they just give us a nod of the head because they know how loyal we are and they know that we're always going to show up regardless. So I've seen people just look at me with my Raider jersey on, just nod the head. And they may not say a whole lot or they may talk trash, but they nod the head because they know that this fan base is a loyal fan base.
And I've got hundreds of pictures of fans of other bases actually tailgating with us, because they couldn't find a tailgate that they could join. We just said, come on over, have a beer, have a shot with us, and the next thing you know, they were partying with us. It's a great fan experience. I would recommend it for anybody.
Absolutely. Now, just change gears a little bit now. Let's talk about the team. Now I've seen some of your posts, Peggy, and you've been very vocal about changes to the defense for next year. Please talk about some of the concepts of the Raider defense, some of which may be really confused.
I wanted to talk about it in terms of Raider fans' understanding of defense itself, because it is an alien concept. In the good old days, it was just strong arm quarterback, fastest receiver on the field. Nobody thought very much about what had to be done on the defensive side of the ball to get the Super Bowl wins that we got in the 70s and 80s. The concept starts with the organization's vision of defense. And I have to say, the Raiders really haven't done a good job of embedding defensive scouting in their organization. As a result, it has not been a priority, and especially after Al, it really disappeared. I'm talking about the organizational capability of identifying talented defensive players nationwide and bringing them in. The second problem is finding talented defensive coordinators. Unfortunately, the Raiders have gotten into this good old boy network thing going on, and John Gruden has bought into 100%. I do not agree with that approach. But nevertheless, we've been stuck with second-tier defensive coordinators who bring in second-tier staff assistants. And then we've got these guys that we draft and acquire of mediocre talent who need development, who need good coaching, and they're never going to get it. And we have to start there. This predated Gruden. It is not a Gruden thing. It is a Raider thing. And I wanted to really emphasize that we didn't just start playing bad defense when Gruden got here. We haven't had a good defensive coordinator. Maybe somebody can help me. I keep searching back. People tell me Willie Shaw. I can't remember the last decent defensive coordinator in terms of rankings in the top 15. And when we talk about good, we're talking about a top 15 defense. No 20s, no 18s, no 28s like we've been traditionally turning in, but rankings in the top 15. Can you guys remember?
I think you have to go back to Rob Ryan, but yeah, it's definitely a team thing. We haven't put the emphasis on building great defenses. And I think that that's something that we really have to do because we just got voted like the worst defense of the decade. Statistically, I think that's even a fact. So that's something that we have to fix as an organization, absolutely. And, you talk about the good old boy network. I was a little worried about that, too. I wanted Wade Phillips, but we ended up with Gus Bradley. somebody that Gruden worked with in the past. But the things that they've been saying about him that are good is that he can work with young guys. And I hope that that's true because we do have some project players, but they seem to be able to play in the NFL, but they got to get their heads on right. And if we can just get them coached up with this Gus Bradley, I think that we will have a good defense, a strong defense. It's just a matter of these players being in the right position and then also telling themselves in their mind that they're not going to get burned on this play. Get that passion, that desire to stop the offense and not be so in your head trying to think so much, So I think, and I'm hoping that Gus Bradley, even though he came through on the Good Old Boy Network, can turn this around because we were 2 stops away from being 10-6. So if we could just get that middle of the pack defense, I think we could do well and get back into the playoffs. But with Gruden, yes, it's not just him, but if you look at where he was successful, it was in Tampa when he had a decent offense with a strong run game and an elite defense. So if I'm Mark Davis, I'm looking at Mike Mayock and I'm saying, do that. Build me an elite defense right now because we got to play Patrick Mahomes twice. We got to play Herbert twice. And who knows who the Broncos are going to get. But it's looking like if we're going to be able to win the division, we're going to have to build an elite defense, and that's going to have to be our identity because we know that we can move the ball. Gruden has a proven offense, but we have to have a defense to stop these young offenses in our division.
Well, we'll see now. Here's our challenge. First of all, we have a defensive coordinator who's proven in his 8 years as a DC and 4 years as a head coach in Jacksonville that he cannot build a top 15 defense without elite players. This is my concern, that we have a lot of players that are at the developmental level, a lot of players that have been totally confused in their concept of defense by having Gunther in their ears for the last 3 years. I don't know what he was doing. I mean, I called it space age whack defense. I have no clue what Gunther was really trying to do. But what I do know is that Gus Bradley's resume says, I can't get you a top defense unless I have top players. And we have to look at Gus Bradley the last 2 years with the Chargers. His defenses turned in respectively 21st in 2019 and 22nd in 2020 in points allowed. The Raiders' biggest Achilles heel, next to the sacks, which I'll get to, is that stat right there. It doesn't matter how many yards you allow, it's how many points you allow. And those two, that particular stat, Gus Bradley didn't do well the last 2 years in Chargers, despite the talent that he had. That concerns me. What also concerns me is the 4 years he was in Jacksonville, this defensive guru turned in bottom 5 rankings on his defense all 4 years. He was unable at the head coaching level to affect the defense on his team or affect the kind of defensive talent he was bringing in. That disturbs me. I was looking for a defensive coordinator that was on Gruden's level. It didn't matter whether Gruden knew him. He needed to be on Gruden's level in terms of IQ, football IQ, the ability to adjust. I needed him aggressive. I needed him to know talent. I needed him to be able to teach. And I also needed him to be able to bring in top staff, top linebacker coaches, top secondary coaches. I'm not going to say anything. Gruden doesn't have 3 years to build a defense. And I hope you guys can comment on this. I don't think he has the luxury of 3 more years to wait till we get a top 15 defense. I think he only has 1. He blew the first 3 with his friends and family plan.
I would agree with you. Maybe go 1 more year. I would say that he has to be in the playoffs within the next 2 years. I mean, everybody's looking at next year and circling it as a big epic fail with the John Gruden project if he doesn't get in the playoffs next year. But I'm going to say he has 2 years. But having said that, the main thing, that the concern I've had, and it's not just with the defensive side of the ball, but with the offensive side, is that the Raiders in the last couple of years have really taken chances on drafting players who have upside, but also have some injury problems. And I hope that we are going to get to the point where we can draft on dependable, stable people who can contribute to the team in whatever way, shape, or form, but not have all those injury problems right out of the gate.
Yeah, we had a very unkind name for Mackenzie's picks. We felt like he went to the hospital wards and did a tour before he actually did a draft. I mean, this is what I'm going back to, that embedded defensive scouting talent that does not change despite the GM that's there. That embedded scouting capability was in Al's organization. He had guys that stayed no matter who came and went. And most winning organizations have this. That capability is embedded. And that's what we talk about when we talk about getting top talent, and preferably talent that doesn't visit the operating room the first 6 months they're a Raider.
Amen to that.
So not only do we have this issue with, the good old boy network and a questionable hire, maybe a lackluster hire, we are looking at a potential quarterback controversy with Derek Carr and Marcus Mariota. The Raider Nation seems to be split when it comes to this topic. I am one of the people that feels like, we need to be consistent, even though you say 7 years is long enough. I think lack of consistency is what's hurt us as an organization. So I think, Derek Carr, given this opportunity now, coming into his 4th year, he's going to be even more successful. But if we pull the trigger and abandon like we normally do back in the day, we're just going to keep in that cycle. So what are your thoughts on the Derek Carr situation?
Thought number one, as long as John Gruden is a coach, Derek Carr is going nowhere. And as I told people, they can, I'll be happy to supply them with Kleenex tissues so that they can have a good cry. He's going nowhere. And I'm telling you why he's going nowhere. Because if you look around the NFL, and this is where Raider fans disappoint me with their perspective of the other 31 teams. You look at NFL, the chances of getting the Patrick Mahomes, the starting quarterback of all starting quarterbacks, a Watson, a Wilson, the chances of that, only 8 or 9 teams have elite starting quarterbacks. The majority of the teams have very good quarterbacks that need to have good defenses, that need to have good coaching, that need to have weapons, that need to have a running game. Okay? The majority of teams. That's just a football fact that is unalterable. You are not going to get a Herbert in every draft. So the idea that the grass is greener, we can find somebody better. And let's go to Mariota, who I love, by the way. I've been watching him since his days in Tennessee. Great diversity of skills, a smart guy, a guy who actually can lead an offense to a Super Bowl. What's his problem? Can't stay healthy. Run-first quarterbacks have health issues. They're friends of Kaiser Permanente because you take a lot of chances with your body when you put yourself out there. You do things with your body when you run, when you become a runner instead of a quarterback. Look what's happening to Jackson in Baltimore. All I knew is I just had to wait because sooner or later it would reveal that a one-dimensional quarterback is never going to make it in this league. He'll look real good the first couple of years, but just like fish, he'll start stinking if he sticks around a while. And that's what's going to happen to any quarterback that depends on his legs as part of his game. The most successful quarterbacks in this league still are the pocket quarterbacks, and Derek is a pocket quarterback. You gotta understand that it's so hard to find that guy that Raider fans keep looking for. And all of this is because we haven't had a defense for 20 years. So everybody is forced to focus their laser attention on every single thing the offense does, every mistake, every missed opportunity, because we have no defense. Derek can't make mistakes. Jacobs can't make mistakes. Waller can't make mistakes. Gruden can't make mistakes because we have no defense. Everything, all the criticisms of Derek, everything that we're looking at, we have a microscopic focus on him because we have no defense. Defense gives you the luxury of being human. And that's what I'm disappointed Raider fans do not understand. When you have a top 15 defense, that touchdown that became a field goal doesn't really matter.
Bam, speaking fire.
I know, yeah, right?
Yeah.
So with all that being said, with free agency coming up and the draft coming up, what should we do with our draft picks and our free agent signings?
This is where I get on my soapbox, guy, about what I've been asking for 5 straight years. In vain, by the way, because the Raiders have no clue how to pick defensive talent. Defensive tackle. Let me repeat that. Not defensive end, not linebacker, not a corner, a shutdown corner, not these safeties that people keep being dissatisfied with. Defensive tackle. The Raiders have not had quality big guys in the middle since, well, help me out, fellas.
Rod Coleman, Seymour.
Seymour was at the end of his career. I'm talking about the beast in the middle, the guy who on a snap of the ball, 2 offensive linemen have to be occupied with him, or else he's going to break through, collapse the pocket, and get to your quarterback. That guy.
Yeah, Rod Coleman comes to mind.
I mean, when was he a
Early
Raider?
2000s.
Are we still talking 15, 20 years?
Yeah, it's
Pretty
been a while.
much.
Yep.
I could rattle off all the guys that we passed over in drafts going back to 2008, 2009. Of course, we didn't have one in 2010.
I mean, yeah, you're right. But the problem is the two DTs in the middle. What did we learn from Khalil Mack? That a defensive end is not going to give you a good defense. It's not going to make you a top pass rushing team at all. As a matter of fact, we were in our low 20s in overall defense, and bottom 5, I'm talking about 28, 29 in sacks every year Khalil Mack was here. Why? Quality big guys pushing the pocket in the middle. Raider fans still don't get it. You build a defense from the front to the back, not from the back to the front. I don't care if you get Dion and Darryl Green to come out of retirement and play corner for us. It won't matter.
I'm not sure if you can hear me, but I'm pounding the table here for you.
Oh, thank you. I have been trying to get the message out that what have you been seeing for 20 years? Why haven't we been able to put a good defense on the field? Defensive tackle.
Mark Schlereth has said it many times, you build teams with the big uglies,
Yes.
both the offensive and defensive side of the ball, the big uglies.
You're right. And there's no substitution. You cannot camouflage smoke and mirrors. If you don't have quality play, guys that consistently occupy 2 offensive linemen and push that pocket so that your guys can get in on those edges, you're not going to have a pass rush. And the second part is, the Raiders are the only team in the NFL without a pass rushing linebacker, a pass rushing specialist. at linebacker. Seems like a no-brainer, right?
Yeah.
But we don't have it. We have no pass rushing capability from any position but D-line. That is incredible.
Yep.
And that's another reason why this year we finish, as usual, ranked 28th in sacks. We need defensive tackle first. You talking about corner this, safety that, cover 3, whatever Gus Bradley is yakking about is all in vain if you don't have a pass rush. And I don't understand why we haven't figured that out in 20 years. What are we waiting for? Neon lights, right? We're in Vegas now, right? We can get neon light. We can get a big billboard. You cannot have a pass rush without good defensive tackles.
Yep.
End of story. I think we have fine defensive ends. I think Crosby and Farrell would turn into fine young men if they had beasts in the middle.
Peggy, I say we pick up one during free agency and then draft one in the first round.
I don't know how you get them, but one of your beasts has to be a veteran. He has to know all the tricks of getting to a quarterback. He just has to. Somebody has to teach them young guys.
I say we pick up Peggy and as a coaching free agent.
The Raiders would probably do a Buckner on me, though. One bad word about the defensive coordinator, I'm gone, you know?
Hey, listen, if we can bring you and Buck in both, it'd turn the whole thing around.
I don't know, but I really, really think that the concept of defense is just alien in the Raider organization. And they got to stop making it alien. They got to start dealing with it and living with it. If they don't, we'll be doomed to mediocre defenses for the next 20 years.
Yeah. All right. Moving on to a different subject. Peggy, what would you say has been the single biggest positive story coming out of Raider Nation over the past year?
I actually would say the improvement of the offense and Derek Carr's improvement, as well as the offense being the only unit that we can count on this team. Gruden has done what he promised to do with the offense. I still think there's a problem with discipline and there's a problem with focus for the entire team. But see, that all goes back to the fact that you ain't playing defense. But I really am proud of some of those guys. And I'm proud of this year. I know you guys are too, with the job Tom Cable did with that O-line, with all those injuries.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
And Trent Brown being a no-show most of the season. He still managed to cobble together an offensive line that was decent. I'm proud of that. I'm also proud of Nelson Aguilar, a.k.a. Hands of Stone. Actually, a former first-round pick from who the Eagles never used right. They kept trying to use him in the slot, by the way. But John Gruden said, hey, wait a minute. This guy's an outside guy. He's a wide receiver. And boom, all of a sudden, Aguilar has the best year of his career. I'm really proud of that. I'm happy for that young man. I know you all are too. Oh, yeah. I know there's a salary discussion about how much you should be paying him. I won't get into that because the cap number has moved. The top cap number has moved down this year, so there's going to be some negotiation. But if I'm Aguilar, you got to stay with the Raiders. They really appreciated him. There's a guy that we really didn't even see that much because he was hurt a lot, but that was Brian Edwards. And another wide receiver who has a lot of upside potential. Maybe we'll see more of him next year. And then I want to talk about poor little Ruggs. Now, first of all, I personally wouldn't have drafted him. Justin Jefferson was definitely my pick for the receiver. But we all know Ruggs was the smallest wide receiver in the draft this year. the guy soaking wet is 175 pounds. That presents some unique challenges for a rookie. Okay. Not only being seen in the crowd, but able to get off the line of scrimmage in one piece. Okay. Avoiding the chips, avoiding the chops, and all those things that they do to keep you from getting into your route. Because they know the defense knows they don't want Ruggs getting into a route with that speed. He'll just burn them all. So they do a lot of stuff to him at the line of scrimmage. And if you guys look at the film, you'll see that. I'm hopeful about Ruggs. I'm hopeful, like Tyreek Hill, he'll learn the tricks of avoiding all of that confusion and getting into the routes that he wants to get into next year.
And that's where I think a full training camp will really benefit him. He needs that coaching. He needs that teaching tool so that he can learn how to separate from the line of scrimmage.
And he needs to hit the weight room as well.
Yes, he does. He really does. You're so right, Homer. He needs to put on, what do you say, at least 10, just to give him a fighting chance to get open. I don't know what it's going to do to his speed, though. What do you think?
I think if you get his upper body strength up to par, he'll be fine. I don't think he needs to do a bunch of deadlifts or squats or anything like that, just a typical workout. But he's got to get upper body strength so he can get off of those press checks.
Yeah, and see, the other thing that happens to a guy at that size in the NFL is the frequent injuries. And I feel like that's more than anything slowed him from getting into the rotation. And, Derek, like a number of quarterbacks, has an issue with trusting receivers.
Particularly those that are injury-ridden.
Right. If you're not on the field, there's no way that trust can start to be built. There's just no way.
Okay, and our final question today, Peggy, is could you discuss, you've already touched on this a little bit, but could you discuss the importance of the role of an independent GM in a winning franchise? Because for so many years, it was all just under one man, Al Davis.
Yes, and that's a part of the Raiders gaining a new 21st century identity under Mark Davis, who doesn't, of course, have the in-depth football knowledge that his dad did. There's no way he could. He didn't start out as a coach, and rise through the ranks. So Mark has a little bit to learn about the game. The problem with the Raiders is that after Al left, there was this huge, Al passed away, excuse me. There was this huge power vacuum in the Raider organization. There was nobody to fill the role of looking after the organization's interests on the field. And that's important for people to understand. The head coach is concerned with player development, wins and losses, getting his team ready to play every week. The GM in winning franchises always is concerned about making the best football decisions for the organization. Under a winning GM, there's no way Bill Musgrave gets fired. Why? Because Musgrave was the architect of the offense that won 12 games. Now, why in the world would I get rid of him? I want to win 12 games next year. The organization wants to win 12 games. I don't care what the head coach has to say. He stays. You guys figure out a way to work it out. The same thing with the Buckner move. I bring in a guy, my young players respond. The area that has been the most trouble for my team for the last 20 years, the defensive line improves. And then Gruden says he wants to fire him? No! My job as a GM to say, no, that decision is not in the best interest of my players, of our organization. Let's sit down and see if we can find a way to fix this. You want Marinelli? Bring him in as a defensive consultant. I'll pay him whatever you want to pay him. This is something that Raiders fans don't understand. In a winning organization, the GM keeps bad football decisions from being made. And that decisions that are not in the best interest of the team. It's not about the power struggle between the head coach and the GM. It's about what's in the best interest of the organization. Al used to do that. He was the guy who said, no, head coach, you're not going to do this because, you're not going to cut this player and this, that, and the other. And people thought it was overbearing and micromanaging and all that. But really, Al was doing the job a GM should do. He should always look out for the team as a whole. Good performance gets rewarded. Bad performance gets shown the door. I think that when we talk about how much power Gruden has, how much power Mayock has, Mark ultimately is the one that's going to have to straighten it out. And I'll tell you, it wasn't Gruden that fired Gunther. Who do you guys think it was?
Mark Davis, for sure.
Oh, I think that was Mark.
That's what brings me back to my point, though. I think that, Gruden, they're going to be patient with Gruden. That's why Gruden was patient with Gunther, and that Gruden's going to be patient with Carr. Right now, this organization is being patient, which is something that Al didn't really do towards the end of his career. Of course, chasing the Super Bowl. That's understandable. Yeah. But this organization, they need, if you look at the successful teams like, Pittsburgh, Baltimore, and several other ones, right? They keep their coaches, even when they have bad seasons, and right now, what we had to do was basically rebuild a team. Gruden had to come in and strip down a team that fell apart on him over some locker room issues. And now, in his second year, 7-9, and then his third year, 8-8. Look, and like I said, if our defense could have came up with a couple of stops, we were 10-6. Gruden's not going anywhere. I don't think he's not on the hot seat. I think that he is actually going to be around for that entire 10 years. I think that once the 10-year contract is up, then they'll take a look at Mark Davis will take a look at it. But I think Gruden has the full 10 years.
And let's not forget that Gruden always has the option of resigning himself. Let's not put that out of our realm of possibility. I mean, there comes a time when a guy has tried to do something, and this is his second run as a head coach, and he's older, not younger. And sometimes, you make a decision for the best interest of the organization. I really, really think that sticking with Gruden is the thing, but I still think that there's a conflict on the defensive side of the ball between the organizational priorities and what you're choosing, the kind of quality of defensive coordinator you're choosing to run your defense.
Well, let's see if we can straighten that out this year.
Amen.
I hope so.
All right, Peggy, thank you so much for joining us on this episode. We will have to have you back for another one.
Oh, I really enjoyed it, as I knew I would, and I appreciate you giving me an opportunity to talk a little bit about things that I think are important to all Raider fans.
Thanks so much, because we are the nation.
Yes, we are.
I said in the intro I could listen to you for hours, and I meant it. I really could.
Thank you, Heidi.
Appreciate you coming on, Peggy. It's nice talking to you.
Great talking to you, Homer, and great talking to you, Tom.
See you later. All right, thank you so much.
All right, bye. Thank you so much.
Man, you know what? I can agree with a lot of what she says. We need to focus on defense for, as an organization. It's very important, especially in today's AFC West. We got some quarterbacks that are playing well, and we're going to need to be able to stop them. I just think that she has the right idea about Carr, too. He played well. She talked about him and all the issues that he's had to deal with that are out of his hands as far as the organization going through coach after coach. Peggy has a really good level head. She does a lot of work for the Raider Nation through the Booster Club. So, you know what, Raider Nation, take what Peggy's saying and kind of think about that a little bit and stay calm out there. We have the chance to come back next year and play even better.
Oh, yeah, definitely. She spoke volumes on so many different topics. I'm just sitting here going, yep. Got that right. Preaching to this choir? Yep. So I actually don't have anything to disagree with her on. All right, and that about does it for this week. Thank you so much for joining us on the Only Nation podcast, and thank you again, Peggy. We loved having you on. This is Heidi, and you can follow me on social media at Kevlar Prom Dress on Twitter and on Instagram, or you can find me on Facebook as Heidi Stabbert.
All right, Raider Nation, here's all the information you need to get in touch with us. Our Google voicemail number is 904-701-8667. You can leave us a voicemail there or send us a text message. You can also email us at onlynationpod@gmail.com, and you can also find us on Twitter and Instagram by going to @onlynationpodcast. We are also on Facebook and YouTube at Only Nation Podcast. Be sure to hit like and subscribe wherever you follow us on all social media and podcasting apps. And you can find me, Raider Homer, on social media by searching Raider Homer on Facebook, search the Raider Homer channel on Facebook, Raider Homer on Instagram, and @Homer Raider on Twitter.
And this is T3 once again reminding you how important it is for the growth of this show for us to get your input. Be sure to like and subscribe on your favorite social media account and podcasting app. Make sure to leave your name, address, and phone number. Call us and tell us what you want to know. Throw us an interesting nugget that we can use on one of our upcoming episodes and become a part of what we're doing here. Remember, this is the Only Nation, and we want you to be a part of it. So call us, 904-701-8667. That's 904-701-8667. Call us now and join the Only Nation podcast family. You can find me on social media on Twitter at T3_sports703, on YouTube at T3 Sports Guy, and on Facebook at Tom, THOM Jones.
All right, and if you're still with us to this point in the episode, you might have noticed we dropped this on a Monday. Yeah, for right now, we're going to be dropping episodes on Monday, at least until the start of next season. Until next time, everyone, go Raiders.
Go Raiders.
We are not just a nation, we are the only nation.